What's up, guys? Brett with Danceless Adventures. So this video is going to be very specific to a probably small group of people, but I think it's going to help some people out because this was another one of my head scratchers. So I'm working on a 4-inch Proline Dredge to change the belt, and I couldn't find anything on it. How to get it apart, how to get the pump apart, nothing. So it took me a bit. And mine was a little bit more probably complicated than most, and I'll explain why in just a minute. But I'm going to break down how the pump comes apart, how the belt comes out, how it goes together, and yeah, hopefully it'll save some people some aggravation. I was getting ready to have to phone a friend and look for some advice because mine was so bad I was scared it was going to break stuff. So hang on 1 minute and I'll show you what I had going on. Okay, so this is a typical 4-inch Proline dredge pump motor situation. All right, your air compressor would be sitting right here. Belt comes off, hooks to your air compressor, gives you your air. Problem I had was smoked the belt because I couldn't keep it tight and ruined the belt. So you got to change the belt. Well, to change the belt, all of this has to come off. It will not come past the shaft that goes into your pump. Okay. So, of course, me being me, I dive right in. It seemed pretty self-explanatory. So, on the back of your pump, you have 4 bolts right here. Then, the bracket that mounts to your motor has 4 bolts. So one would assume, take the 4 bolts out, slide the pump off, at least the housing off. Did that, would not budge. Said okay. Took these bolts out, tried to get it off, would not budge. So I got looking on the pulley in here, and about right there, there's a set screw in the pulley, holds it to the shaft. Said okay, took the set screw out, still wouldn't come off. At this point, starting to scratch my head because it should not be this difficult. So, you have to excuse the shaky footage. I'm doing this one-handed. So, eventually, found out that take these bolts out, the housing does indeed come off. Whoever put mine together, move that crap, that'll come into play in a minute, you'll understand. There's a gasket here that goes to here, seals your pump housing with your impeller inside. So they sprayed gasket tack on this surface. Well, they also sprayed it on this one. Like, I don't know what the hell they were thinking about, but that, holy hell, not necessary. You don't even need to put a gasket tack on here, but if you were going to, you sure as hell wouldn't want to put it on this side. But anyway, finally get this side off. Okay, making progress. Move this out of the way. Okay, get the housing off down to here. Getting somewhere, feel like I'm doing something. Okay, so this spins counterclockwise, lefty-loosey, just like any other normal thread. Most cases, anyway. So anyway, you take a pry bar, screwdriver, something big, go through your holes, let that come around, hit a table. Then use something not metallic, not metal, at least fiberglass or rubber coated something to break this loose. And it didn't take much. Impeller comes off. Okay, very careful with that. That is your pump seal. Big deal. Don't mess that up. Okay, all this needs to be cleaned. Okay, so then I had this, right? You would think, take the 4 bolts out, and they're just small bolts. I believe it was these. Just, I don't know, 5/16 bolt. Take those out. Still would not budge. Wouldn't even think about it. So, the shaft is not keyed. Mine would not budge. Here comes in the 3-jaw puller. And I was pretty worried I'm gonna bust this up because it's just aluminum. 3 jaws, center here, tighten it up, thinking it would just, you know, a little bit of pressure, it would come off. No. So if you used a 3-jaw puller very much at all, you know, put the jaws around it, tighten it down, and then you smack the end of it right here, and it jars it, and it'll start to loosen, and you just keep doing the process over and over and over again until it comes off. I fought this for better part of an hour. Just could not figure out what in the world was going on. So, let's see if I can do this one. Get this off of here, because I got a belt in the way. Hang on 1 second. Okay, this just slides off. The belt will only come out of one slot. Here's your pulley. That's how it goes in. Goes in on the motor just like this. So you have to take this apart to change your belt. See if I can see. There's the set screw. It was all the way backed out. This shaft was so corroded and rusted that this pulley was just, I mean, froze. So I got it off, hit this with some emery paper, hit the inside of this with a wire brush, and this is how it's supposed to spin. It should not be froze on there and take an act of Congress to get that off. So anyway, this shaft is not keyed. It's just round shaft. And the only thing that holds this in place is that set screw. Goes on, tightens up, locks it down. Bob's your uncle. So yeah, if you are fighting one like this, I feel sorry for you. But at least hopefully you'll see the video and understand how it comes apart. So you won't, you know, go through what I went through. If this had come off like it will now, this would have been, I don't know, just say a 30-minute job. Time you take the motor and the air compressor off the base plate. And really, you could probably do it on the base plate if you didn't have to go through all this mess. But I had to make some repairs because of the bad belt. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is my newly painted base plate. Because the belt was bad and had a narrow spot in it from the pulley burning it, it cracked this base plate from here to here, which made the plate lift, which made the belt even worse. The plate might have already been cracked and I didn't know it because I tightened the belt up the same morning that all this went down. And the belt was tight, everything's fine, ran the dredge for probably, well, 3 hours, tank of gas. And cut it off, gas up, checked the box, started it back up. Belt was loose, air was in the tank, couldn't spin the compressor, smoked the belt. So tightened it back up, got tension on the belt, ran the rest of the day with a split, I don't know, 5 inches probably. So I welded it end to end, both sides, because I don't want to have a repeat of that. So then what I did is I made me a handy dandy bracket. Air compressor sits here, got a threaded plate, or not paint on, got a threaded plate I can run a bolt through. Motor's mounted here, so I can screw the bolt out, push on the air compressor, tighten the belt, lock this down, lock the bolts down for the compressor, everything's tight. Belt shouldn't slip, shouldn't come back. If I have to make any adjustments, loosen up 4 bolts, tighten the screw a little bit, tighten 4 bolts, and I'm good. I don't need chain locks or any of that mess anymore. So I'm gonna start putting this stuff back together. I gotta paint the bottom side of that so it doesn't rust all up. And I'll show you what it's gonna look like when I'm finished. All right, so I'm making a new gasket for this. I'm sure you can order one, but I'm just gonna make it. Got some gasket material. So thing's 7 inches. I just went 3.5 out. That's the outside diameter. Inside 5 1/4. So I just went center of that 5 1/4. Cut that out, lay it over, mark the holes. Instant gasket. Probably save, I don't know, 15 bucks knowing where it's coming from or what it would be. So okay, so we are going to get this back together. Belt around the pulley. See the hole? Hopefully you can see that okay. shaft. Okay, dress the edge up with a flat file, and that's how it's supposed to sit, nice and tight. Belt on the pulley, coming through the hole. The way you can go around your air compressor pulley. Like so. All right, so then we're going to install the 4 bolts around here, and 2 on the bottom, and we'll pick back up. So the bolts that hold the mounting bracket for the pump to the motor are fine threads. I'm going to use some blue Loctite, not red, because I know one day this is going to have to come back off eventually to put another belt on. And I want to be able to get it apart. I just don't want them vibrating out in the creek. And they're kind of a pain to get started because you don't have any room for your fingers. But I'm going to get those hand tight. That way I can make sure I got all of them lined up before I tighten anything. Yes. All right, we're gonna get those tightened, and then we'll start on the front side of the pump. Okay, hopefully you can hear me over my fan. It's dying in here. All right, so there's the 4 bolts. You can kind of see how they are arranged. Oop, make you see sick. All right, so pump housing is attached. Belt is on. I'm not going to tighten that pulley and set the set screw on that pulley until I get everything mounted, air compressor mounted on the mounting plate, the base plate, because I want to see where this pulley runs with that pulley, so I can make sure I can true up this pulley and make sure that this pulls in line, so I don't wear a belt out prematurely on the sides or be chunking belts off because it's not in the right position. And you only have so much adjustment on the slots because those are fixed and the slots in the base plate aren't very big. So that's that. Now we're going to put our gasket on. Might do the impeller first, so I don't have to worry about trying to keep the gasket in place, because I'm not putting tack junk to hold this gasket in place. It's not that big a deal. I've done far worse things than this without it. So yeah, got that cleaned up. Move that crap out of the way, and this just screws on righty tighty, like so. All right, now I'm turning the motor. So put this, get a hole, let it bind up on the bench, and then we can put something in here and turn this. This wasn't super tight. It did not take a whole lot. Matter of fact, I used the end of this old ass hammer to break it loose, and basically just like that, because it's all fiberglass, and it did not take much. So I'm not gonna go stupid crazy trying to tighten this down, because I think when the motor spins, it's actually pulling that tighter. I believe that's how it works, because if not, it would wind it off the other way when it hit water pressure. So yeah, we'll do that. Okay, got that tight, and it's just good and snug. You ain't got to crank the mess out of it and over tighten this thing. Not an issue. So then we'll go our gasket that we made, roughly like so, and then the pump housing. Got to get that cleaned up, get it blown out with the air. Let me see if I can grab it. I took a wire brush, got all the old gasket crap off, because man, I don't know what they were thinking. It was bad. Like, I'm not lying, it was so bad. They basically super glued this to the housing, and not knowing how it comes apart, not wanting to damage my pump, because that's about, I think, $1,100 for that pump. Yeah, had me weirded out a little bit because I did not want to ruin it. So anyway, blow this out with air, get that on, get the bolts in. Blue Loctite again. They had red Loctite on it. You can probably see right there. I'm not going with red. Probably could. I have red here. I think blue will be fine. So that's what we're going to go with. Okay, that is the pump mounted. Those are the 4 bolts that hold that in. Gasket nice and in between. Belt is on. Everything is lovely. And that's how it sits on the motor. It's like a great big turbo, doesn't it? So yeah, I've got a little bit of work to do to my water heater. I blew a gasket on my exhaust. So I'm probably gonna have to double those up and then Loctite these down. Those will probably get red Loctite because I had problems with those backing off. So did Kevin with his heater. Yeah, I know I got crap in my screen I gotta clean out too. We were running into some awful water. But yeah, overall the heater did really well. I built that one. It is a copy of you know who's, and it works great. But anyway, yeah, so base plate should be dry. I'm going to stick the front cover back on of the motor and then mount everything back to the base plate and try out my new tensioner idea, and hopefully it works. Okay, so here it is mounted all back to the base plate, and here is my belt tensioner. So it's 7/16. You got to have 7/16 to loosen the air compressor bolts up anyways. So I figured why not put a tensioner. So you tighten this in, shoves the air compressor out, and then tightens your belt. And I'm not going to go overly crazy. So it's got room right there. And what I did on the pulley, see if I can do this without making everybody seasick. See if I can get a little light in here. So hopefully you can see. Maybe. So all I've done is I slid the pulley over. It's about an 1/8 inch off of the pump housing and probably a 1/16 off the bolts that mount the pump bracket right there. I wanted it a little bit farther over, and it may work once I get a little bit of wear on the belt, but I don't want to chance it because I don't want the belts burning up my belt. This is a brand new belt. So anyway, hopefully you can see that a little bit better. But I got slack in between. Then I eyeballed my pulleys, get the air compressor in the right position because there is a little bit of slop in those holes. And then tighten my my new belt tightener, shoves the air compressor out, the belt's running true, and then just tighten the 4 bolts on the air compressor. Done. I only need 1 wrench. Don't need channel locks on the creek. Trying to do it with channel locks the way Proline tells you to do it, with it on your dredge in the water, is kind of a pain. I've done it 2 or 3 times, and it was not good. It's just tough. Try not to lose stuff in the water, especially if the water's deep, and I mean, it's just a pain. So anyway, it may work, it may be total crap, I don't know. But I think it'll work just fine. So what I'm gonna do is I can lock this in place with this nut right here. But my concern with that is it may vibrate and wear a hole into that. It's on a seam, so it's actually pretty, well, it's a seam like that. So it's pretty rugged, it's a cast seam. I don't think it would hurt it because it should not vibrate much. But really, once I tighten the 4 bolts underneath, which are right there, that's done its job. I can back it out and then just tighten the nut, jam it in place so it can't, you know, vibrate out, and it's not touching it anymore at all. I need to use it. Loosen the 4 bolts on the air compressor, run that back out, push it, tighten the belt, lock those in place, and then back this back off and tighten the nut. So that's my thought. Let me know what you think about that. If you won't hurt my feelings, think it's crap, that's fine too. I just think it's I think it's going to be a pretty handy solution to something that drives me insane, trying to tighten the belt on this thing. But anyway, yeah, that's my my dredge motor. I run quick connects pretty much on everything, so that gets mounted there. But anyway, we're gonna show you what my thoughts were and how to change a belt. All right, so I hope that helped you out if you have a Proline pump and need to change the belt on your dredge to your air compressor, because that one gave me a fit. So hopefully it'll help somebody out. I know the video is not for everybody. Not everybody has their dredge, but if you do, and you go on YouTube, you will actually see a video how to change a belt on a Proline, because I couldn't find one, and that was pretty hard. So yeah, hope you liked the video. Hope you got something out of it. If you did, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button for me. Yeah, I hope it helped you out. We'll keep after it. All right, thanks guys.